when I'm going to be talking and have the plan, then I'll do the hosting because I'll be the host or whatever. But right now you're the host.
Gotcha.
But real quick, Jacob was kind enough to come over here to Midtown today. Where do we look? Am I talking to the camera?
We're talking to each other.
Talking to each other.
Yeah.
All right. Damn.
Yeah. So the camera setup is not ideal yet. This is very intro to what we're going to be doing.
It's to track the progress. You know, like when you do those progress reports when you're gutting your house.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to convert this room to a legitimate podcasting cinematic dual camera setup.
Yeah. On a what do you want to say? On a Temu Wayfair budget.
Yes. But we'll make it work. So to recap, the podcast has been all over the place over the years.
Yep.
All over the place. We had tons of listeners in the beginning. We talked about a lot of things that are relevant to the gym. We talked about a bunch of random stuff. We're talking about health and fitness again. It's been like this as far as our consistency, and we could say that with probably a handful of things. But since you are now professional content creator,
so yeah, I have a funny story.
We're getting back into this. We're really trying to dial in our content strategy here on what's going to be the most advantageous and best options for you guys to give you the best, content.
Well, Double Edge members, our Double Edge community is the driver of this. So what you guys want to learn, a lot of the stuff I've been creating has been directly driven by members asking me questions. And my thought is when one member has a question, I guarantee you there's at least one more, if not 20 more that have the same question. So a good friend of mine, Chad, he had a good conversation with me and is helping me with some marketing stuff. And he basically reframed my thought around creating content, because for years it was like, is it bringing value? Right. Mm-hmm. And he reframed it in the sense, like, you coach class, this is a tool to coach and help educate, inspire, entertain your whole community outside the classes. Us coaches just coach. It's a way for us to connect with our community, answer questions. But on the flip side of that, it is an opportunity for us to build trust with new members and potential new members. Mm-hmm. So when it's framed like that, it's a lot easier for me to wrap my head into this space, because, we went 3 years without posting anything on Instagram. And it's not a place I genuinely like to invest my time and energy into. But after that was reframed for me, it is an opportunity for me to extend my coaching hand beyond just the classes and personal training I do. And I think you feel the same way. Mm-hmm. And we're going to we're just going to do the damn thing now.
Yep. Yeah. So whether it's clean or not clean, or we're on a journey to dial in what our scope of ability and look is.
By clean, he means them 4-letter words, right?
By what?
What do you mean by clean?
Or like the content that we make. That's not off of like a cell phone selfie.
So you mean clean like nice looking? I thought you were referring to 4-letter words.
No.
Because ours is like explicit rated, because sometimes they slip.
One of the first questions I'm going to ask is going to be explicit.
Oh, yeah. So just to give the viewers, our podcast is rated explicit, but that's only because you get the coach in us here too. And they slip sometimes. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but I also don't hate myself for it. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Get passionate. They slip. I thought that's what you meant by clean. I was like, bro, I can't promise that.
No. Not clean in that sense. We're dialing in our look. Right now we're tethered to our little podcasting machine here. That's why we're so close, sitting so close to each other. We got furniture on the way.
Yep.
Right. We're going to dial in this room to be a legit setup. I'm already looking at where a camera is going to be mounted on the wall to have like a downward look. So it's not just on a tripod in our face like this.
We can do that. I got that for a light, but
yeah. So we got some work that we're going to do in this room, but instead of waiting till it's perfect, we're going to get started.
Yeah, and it shows the evolution.
Yep, exactly. So today's podcast.
Should you introduce yourself? We didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, my name is Jacob Wellock. I am one of the owners of Double Edge Fitness.
What class
with
is
my
you coach?
brother. I am the younger brother. I coach 11 and 12 at our South location.
Nice.
So if you want to come by and see me, those are the times to come by.
Yeah. My name is Derek Wellock. I'm the other brother, older. I coach. I'm all over the place.
You are all over the place.
You're going to find me in the early morning hours. So 5 and 6 a.m., Midtown, Monday, Wednesday, 5 and 6 a.m. I totally was wrong. 5 and 6 a.m. South, Monday, Wednesday, 5 and 6 a.m. Midtown, Tuesday, Thursday. Some 11 and 12s at Midtown sprinkled in there, sub-coaching all around. Get around. So I am between both gyms, but primarily I'm at Midtown all day for the most part. So yeah, that's my story.
Perfect. I think most people probably know who we are at this point.
The few listeners we have, they know.
So anyway, we're gonna make this kick-ass podcast, but let's get it started. So today's gonna be a little kind of all over the place.
All right.
We're gonna answer some Instagram questions, which are all over the place, and then we're gonna go off of some topics and ideas that I wrote down earlier, and honestly, whatever comes to us naturally. So this will be our first kind of reintroduction back into getting into the space. So we're dusting off the cobwebs on premier podcasting content that's going to be coming your way.
And I'm excited to do this with you because talking to myself isn't always so much fun.
Yeah, it is awkward to just talk to a camera.
I have to fantasize, I guess that's a weird word, but I have to think that I'm in front of a class.
Yeah,
and now I get to talk to you.
Yeah. Okay, so these questions, you ready?
Yep.
You ready for the first one? And I have to ask you because, it's on the list. So should we name the people that ask these questions?
I don't, probably not.
Okay. So this comes from a listener and a fellow person.
Another human
question. Will butt-chugging my protein shake after a bro lift session repair and build muscle quicker?
No. But I know who said that too. There's only one person. There's literally only one person. We could get into fecal transplants if you want, and I can break down some science on how you can really do some cool things there.
I have to say the person asking this has asked this question enough that at this point, you should just try it, man. You let us know if you feel more swole.
For it to work, this. You probably it won't work because you have a valve at your large and small intestine that will stop those nutrients going into your small intestine where they'll absorb unless you've had that valve removed because you've had colon surgery, similar to what my daughter's had. This is why I know so much about this. But those aren't going to be absorbed in the large intestine. But if you really want to try, maybe don't take this advice and don't do it. But you probably have to hang upside down for 24 hours. And you'll probably die from it. So don't do that.
Yeah. So the science says no. Butt-chugging your protein shake is not the most advantageous.
That's one hell of a way to open up this podcast.
Cases.
My God.
Yeah.
Now,
I was contemplating asking it, but you know what? Why not?
But if you want to talk about fecal transplants, we can get into that.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
He might be interested.
It's a real thing.
Mm-hmm. So no, not only do I not recommend butt-chugging protein shake, I don't really recommend butt-chugging anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just, we'll keep that for.
What's that thing called? A colonic?
Yeah.
That they go in and hose you out?
Yeah.
Have you had one of those?
I have not.
I don't think I have. I think our cousins have.
Yes, I think they have too, actually. Now you bring that up. Yeah. Much love.
I know a few members that have, but it's not something I'm into.
Okay. So there we go. There's the tough one.
Do we need background music for that question?
Let's see.
I mean, it's too late now, but oh yeah, there's the applause. Oh,
That's
my
the
goodness.
reaction that I imagine we just got from everybody.
Had to make it ourselves.
Okay, next question. Who would beat who in a wrestling match?
Well, who's against who? Me versus you?
Yeah.
Honestly, skill wise, yes, but you're so damn strong. So
That'd be the only thing I had going for him.
yeah, as long as I get past 30 seconds with him, he knows enough to be dangerous about wrestling. But I think even after 20 years, still got the skill set. But I just got to tire him out. I got to tire his big ass out.
Yeah.
So if I had to put money on it, I'd probably bet on myself. But
yeah,
he's also done some stuff to me that's hurt me. And not in that kind of way, you weirdos.
Last time that we had a wrestling match was at your kitchen floor a few years ago, and Jackson took his pants off and kept slamming his bare ass on my face because he thought I was hurting Daddy.
Oh, that is true.
And I won that one. I got you to submit. That was more of a jiu-jitsu match.
That was more jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I got you to tap.
Yep.
I ripped one of my favorite shirts, and Jackson, threw his little bare bottom on my face about 15 times.
Our family has a history of doing stuff like this. I mean, me and Justin went through a wall at Christmas.
Yep.
We flipped over, basically destroyed a room on a cruise ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you popped our cousin's testicles.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Yep. So, physical altercation among the boys is not.
It's not an unheard of thing, but I will say now at 40, it's not something that's high on my priority list.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I would agree with Derek's sentiments there. My only thing would be would have to rely on strength.
Brute force, quick.
And not letting go.
Yep.
Okay, next one. Who hurt Jacob, and why does he think Nickelback is a good band?
Who hurt?
Who hurt me?
Like emotionally?
Probably. I'm going to go with that. Well, listener, I'm going to say there's been a handful of people, there's a lot of pain deep in this heart of mine.
Self-inflicted pain.
Yeah, self-inflicted. But mostly I think what you're referring to is nothing but love when it comes to the gym. Shit. You know what I tell people all the time when they're doing a group class workout? It hurts me more than it hurts you, honestly. You're in class, you're on the ground hurting. Just know that deep down, I'm hurting more than you are. So
I mean, that's how I feel during like Murph and stuff with half rep piece going on and everything. A lot of pain.
So I've had many people hurt me, but I've always come back stronger.
Yeah,
so I ain't worried about that. I'm impossible to hurt now. Nickelback, why do I think it's a good band? I mean, Nickelback's one of the greatest bands of all time. I mean, that's an easy
bold statement.
That's an easy statement. I mean, come on. You didn't know anything about this photograph? I mean, shit.
Well,
burn it to the ground.
I feel like that's one of those hot take questions. Like that sets people off. Like there's people that die hard love Nickelback.
Yeah.
And there's people that will literally walk out of the middle of a class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had someone almost quit the gym because of it. I mean, that's a bit extreme.
It is one of those bands that I've seen coaching when it comes on that it does.
I don't know why. I think someone popular somewhere said they don't like Nickelback and people just jumped on the train.
I think it has to do with how they became famous. Didn't they get into the scene from one of those shows? Like, right? No, that was Daughtry. So. It's like the Nickelback.
No, yeah, Nickelback's like the originator.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind their music.
Nickelback's
really
got
care.
bangers. It's just bangers on bangers. I will
say with your music, though, you're all over the place. There's no coach in the gym that is all over the place with their music, from like Celine Dion and Enya to some random back alley, unknown hip hop artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know their names. You know their story. Like, how the heck? What the hell?
Yeah. That's why people gave me the nickname Jay Mysterious, dude.
Well, all I know is when I hit,
actually called me that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. But when I'm coaching at South and I go to like 2019's most played songs, some of the most random.
Yeah. Shit. 2023 has got some Viking War music.
Yep, some of that's come on.
Some EDM, some like opera stuff. I mean, I got good taste, man. I love it all.
Yeah, I mean, you don't discriminate against any genre of music. That's for damn sure.
I don't.
You even play Disney songs.
I'll even play Disney songs.
Yep.
I wish Nickelback would do a Disney cover.
I mean, I know my 5 a.m. class genuinely thinks I'm the best DJ in the gym. Like, I should probably do that as a side hobby. But
I think anyone thinks that. I will say, in your defense, I actually think more people dislike Chase's music than yours.
He's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
But I've gotten a lot of those same comments.
Yeah. I won't say this to hate on Chase, but I covered a few of the class the other day, and that was the only comment that kept coming at me.
Now, I will say this. When you do cover somebody's class, people like change. And usually the coach brings a different change of music.
Yeah.
I will throw that out there. But, yeah, no. I mean, boy's not here to defend himself, so we can't clown on him too much. But I don't use his playlist very much. And to his defense, though, he had like 3 of his playlists he had the class themselves create.
I think that was a big problem because people complained that one person would come in and would be like some super honky-tonky country song, transition into like some underground EDM, and then transition into like slow jam into something else.
Yeah, I just play Kesha.
Attaboy.
Yep. And that, that genre of music.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Black Eyed Peas, yeah. Okay, so we're glad we got that out of the way. Nickelback, one of the greatest artists of all time. Okay, next question. These last 2 are actually semi-serious.
All right.
So consistency versus intensity. What is a good balance to show up every day but increase output?
All right. So I am planning on a video this month. We might even whiteboard it a little bit, but I want to get pretty heavy into this topic because I think it's a very important one, because your long-term health requires you to find that balance for yourself. And everybody's going to be different. Right? Your fitness level, your training experience, your training background, that's all going to play into the right recipe of this for you, the individual. So I tell people, don't try to do like what I do if you don't have my training background, like history. Right? If you don't have all that accumulated in your body, it's not going to be advantageous for you to try to emulate. And so that's why I do try to counsel people in class, and it's become a bigger conversation for me over the last 6 months, a year, with people who I interact with daily, that I do want to bring it to an educational forum such as this. So I'll give you my 2 cents on it in a short version here. The most important thing for our long-term health and fitness is consistency. There is nothing more important than consistency. So I tell folks, when it comes to a fitness program, I do believe ours is one of the best out there, because I wouldn't do it for my long-term health if I didn't believe it was the best out there, and I would advocate for us to change it if I didn't believe it was one of the best out there, right? So that's my conviction in it, and it's done me well, very well, for a very long time. So finding a training style that you can be consistent with is going to be the best tool for your long-term health. Now, I will say that that program needs to, getting into the weeds a little bit here, but it needs to be a balance of strength training, anaerobic training, aerobic training, mobility, and stability. So, intensity drives results. Intensity and volume. So you're not going to get results from training without either one of those being present. You need to know where your body's at on which days, and then where at in your training and goals that you want to push volume and intensity. So think of it this way. Consistency is number 1. Our goal is to work out. Our bodies are meant to move. We need to work out, in my mind, minimum 3 to 5 days per week. And if our fitness level is up there, we can move every single day. Like, we can move in some capacity every single day. Now, when it comes to volume and consistency, volume and intensity, they're both going to be difficult to recover from in different ways, athlete dependent. So typically where people find themselves the most beat down is going to be when you combine volume and intensity together. So a workout that drives both a lot. So we're doing a 30-minute workout. You're accumulating 1,000 reps of something. Now, intensity, and you can chime in on this, is different. There's intensity when you're moving a light barbell fast. There's a different intensity on the central nervous system when you're moving a heavy barbell for less reps. both of them are going to impact people in a different way. This is going to be based on your type 1, type 2 muscle fiber development as you age, your genetics, your nutrition, and they are both going to tax you in different ways. So the more in tune with your body you get over time in training, you're going to realize what you can recover from better and where you're, can push the intensity and recover from. So use myself as an example. If I'm lifting weights in our general group class and, under 80, 85%, I typically recover from those in 12 to 24 hour period. Pretty good, as long as the volume's low. We start pushing that 50, 60% of my strength capacity into that higher volume. I'm starting to look at 2 days recovery on that. If it's body weight stuff, I can do a lot of volume at a low, moderate intensity and recover from it pretty well. For instance, me and JP did we did Cindy each with a weight vest this past Sunday. I was fine on Monday. But I've also trained volume. I'm a volume whore, if you will. So I do recover from that when the intensity is low. Now, if that was a max effort, for me, that's potentially up to a 3-day recovery, like to where my muscles are feeling like they're spunky again. So for you to find that balance, you need to, I believe, journal how you feel, how you recover, your nutrition, your sleep. These are going to play huge effects into this. If it's CNS fatigue, I'm going to say that not many people in the gym have experienced that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would argue anyone that brings up CNS fatigue is just using it as an excuse to skip a workout. There are very few people that have truly hit central nervous system fatigue to warrant not doing anything because of that variable.
Yeah, and those...
Like, it's a buzzword for a lot of people. When people in the past, like when I first started training, like, oh, man, my CNS is just fried. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, the more that I've learned about things, I'm like, no, that's a bullshit excuse that people will use to skip things. Now, that does happen, but for majority of people, don't really understand what that feels like.
So, to put that in context, CNS fatigue, you're going to be lifting really heavy weight. A lot and often, and this doesn't happen typically in one workout. It's accumulation of heavy volume over a period of time, and for that also you probably need to be so well trained that your CNS is actually firing 85, 90%, I don't know the exact numbers, but the majority of your muscle fibers. So most of us, I mean probably myself included, isn't capable of firing more than 80, I mean you probably know these numbers better than I do, but 80% of our muscle fibers in any given single lift or
a lot of that is dependent on your intramuscular coordination, how you've developed over the years. But an example to this would be you have an elite power lifter is a great example, or an elite Olympic lifter, a great example of this to a new lifter. So someone new coming into the gym, assuming that they can move well and they're just dabbling into strength training. And let's say this person back squats, their max, okay, air quotes, is 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're going to train with 50% one day.
Yep.
Okay, 50 pounds. So that is just a literal 50 pounds on someone's skeletal structure is not going to feel like hardly anything on a torso, 50 pounds. Where you take someone like, I watched some kid just break the world record actually this last weekend. He's like 28 and he raw back squatted, I think like over 1,000 pounds or something stupid.
Good God.
So yeah, absurd amount of weight. So if that person takes 50% of their max, right? So between 500 to 600 pounds, depending on the person, like that's still 500 to 600 pounds of weight on a human structure, if you will. It's drastically different than 50 pounds. So if you take, like mathematically, someone would say, well, it's 50% for them, it's 50% for this person, it should be the same. Well, it's really not. But that person's nervous system and the years that they've put into training is so dialed in that when they unrack that bar, I mean, I've even heard a few lifters in town, elite powerlifters, they go, yeah, it's fucking heavy. Like when we're squat 800, 900 pounds and they have to get up to their working sets like we do, like between 70 to 80% or higher, like they're pushing 600, 700 pounds for their training sets. I mean, that is still a disgusting amount. It's enough weight that if you misstep where you're putting your feet, you could break your leg.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen to someone who's going to go back squat 70 pounds.
No.
And that right there is a great example of what obviously two very different people, but how someone's nervous system has developed around a training adaptation over time to be able to do something that extreme.
Yeah. So like Jacob's example here, you need to be training for a long time, and then it is moving heavy weights pretty often that you can start pushing yourself into true CNS fatigue. Mm-hmm. Our group class, I don't think that is the fatigue issue people are going to feel.
Yeah. To be completely honest, I would just, other than like elite, and I would actually even put ourselves in this category. I mean, elite might not be the right word, but we've been doing it long enough and we've done relatively impressive things for our physical pursuits, whether it's endurance related or strength related, whatever it is. That there's very few people in the gym that even understand what that is. So if I could remove that from someone's training vocabulary of central nervous system fatigue, I would.
Yeah.
Because I think people romanticize this idea of this, like this terminology sounds sexy. Oh, my central nervous system is fatigued.
Yeah, like I need to get an ice bath to recover my CNS.
It sounds cool, but it's a fallacy for most people. It's not. Yeah. Not that it's not a thing. It for sure
it is a thing. But those of us doing general physical preparedness training, even myself and what I do, it's not something that's I'm concerned with.
Worry about. So to backtrack between the consistency and intensity, like what you're saying, you absolutely need both of those things. I'll use myself here as an example. With me having lifted these big weights, been training for a really long time. Like I understand intensity, but what I've been lacking in my personal life between being, relatively new dad, business owner, injuries, is I haven't had the consistency. So when I jump into like even a group class or a training session, the intensity is there, but because I've had such a lack of consistency and the ability to tolerate any amount of volume, that I can do a workout really hard, but then I can't function or do anything for 4 days afterwards because my base of being able to tolerate any kind of volume via the lack of consistency inhibits my ability to have high intensity because I can't do it very often. So I would argue, and I bet you would agree in this position, almost dialing some of my intensity in relation to volume back a little bit in place of consistency so I can get back to a position of repeatable effort on my end.
Yes.
Because, for example, last week I did group class Friday. Piss poor effort. It was everything that I had, but I've been so inconsistent with life and injuries and everything that I couldn't walk for like 4 days.
Yep. And that's counterproductive. So when you do workouts like that have that response, in my mind, and I think anybody who's been in the fitness space or health and whatever would agree, that is not a healthy training dose at all. So it's finding that balance of training, and that's one of the downsides to like the leaderboard. That's one of the downsides to the competitive nature that generally takes place in a facility like ours. It drives intensity, but it can be what I call irresponsible intensity. So you have to drive intensity for yourself so that you can recover and come back and keep consistent the next day. And that does, and it is a learning yourself, because you don't want to go so easy that you don't drive an adaptation. Mm-hmm. But you also don't want to go so hard that you're screwed up and get into like how I use Whoop, I mean, I don't necessarily need it to train, but it has been a guide for me to understand myself more when it comes to consistency and intensity. But I would prioritize consistency. I would sprinkle in intensity throughout the week. I don't go hard, but 1 day a week anymore. Like I'll max effort one of our group class workouts 1 day a week. All my other group class workouts are about 80% effort. And that's because I then recover from it and I'm able to train the next day. And then I'm able to be productive for my family. I'm able to feel good when I leave the workout, because like if your workouts aren't leaving the rest of your day where you're feeling good, energized, what the hell are we doing this for? And I had to have that conversation with myself a couple years ago. Like feeling beat up, broken all the time.
Yeah, I think that ties into being a competitive nature. Yeah. I mean, the cool part about what we do, having being able to, quote unquote, compete with people around you, whether or not you say you're a competitive person, like having the external push of your peers around you helps to facilitate these results, helps facilitate intensity. But when your sole goal is to compete like daily, it can wear down on you for sure.
And in CrossFit, to defend the CrossFit methodology, is intensity is supposed to be relative to where you're at, right? So we come in, RX weight on a barbell, hypothetically 135. Me moving that 35 reps is going to be a lot different than a brand new person who's never touched a barbell for 30 reps, right? Because training over time, your relative intensity is different than person standing next to you's relative intensity. This is one of the downsides of RX weights.
So I like to describe relative intensity as an internal discussion rather than an external optic. So what I mean by that is if we take our youngest person we've ever had in the gym and our oldest person we've ever had in the gym. So we take a teenager, an 18-year-old. Well, I'll actually just use someone younger. We have a 14-year-old in the gym right now. We've also had a 94-year-old in the gym.
Got a 92-year-old right now.
See, badass. So the external, when we look at intensity, sometimes people look at this from an optic point of view, meaning that I will look at the 14-year-old and then I will look at the 92-year-old. And if I were asked, which person is putting forth more intensity, logically, I would say the 14-year-old, because they're moving through time and space faster.
But they're producing more power.
Yeah. So, but that's not relative intensity. That's not a good answer to that question, because the 92-year-old is putting forth the same intensity, but it's relative to where he's at in his abilities, as opposed to the 14-year-old. So I think we get lost in this idea of like what it looks like optically, as opposed to what is actually happening internally.
Yep.
And I think that's where you need to learn as an athlete, where your relative intensity is internally, that discussion, rather than what it looks like externally.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. So to recap the question, you got to find consistency. And if you're not recovering from workouts daily, you need to talk with your coach. Like, what's going on here? Am I training too hard? Most of the time, yes. In the first 3 months, that can probably be an issue as your body's getting acclimated to training. But after, if you've been consistent 2-3 months, bodies should be pretty acclimated for the most part to training. Then it comes down to what's the other 23 hours of the day. How are we sleeping? Water consumption, what your nutrient intake looks like, what your stress levels outside the gym. All these variables come into play in a massive way when it comes to optimizing your recovery for the next workout. And again, I'm planning on going deep onto this topic in a future episode, and we could do it together. But it's there's a lot of nuance here, and it is an individual journey. And you guys here in the gym particularly, you have us as resources. Like, I will sit down with anybody for as long as we need to and go through your training, especially if you come to my class, because I see your training. I've had numerous people get whoops. We can actually monitor their intensity, because on the flip side of that, I've been fortunate enough to educate some people that they don't ever find intensity, and they're wondering why they don't get results. I train all the time. I'm here all the time. I'm doing all this perfect, but your heart rate hasn't gone over 130 ever. And we've to know relative intensity. I think you have to also at some point find maximum intensity. Like you have to know what that feels like.
Oh yeah.
Doing push-ups till failure, doing air squats till you feel like your legs are going to explode. When you know what that failure point looks like, then you start learning where the breakaway point is to be able to recover for the next day.
Yeah.
But you don't do that right out the gate. That would be not very advantageous.
Your body wouldn't even really know how. Like,
well, I mean, somebody can come in here off the street and do 300 air squats, get through it, but they might not walk for 3 months.
Yeah. And then arguably those air squats probably wouldn't look the same all through those 300.
No. So did we answer the question? Kind of.
So, yeah. I mean,
in the short
if
term?
I were to shorten up an answer, consistency and intensity go hand in hand, but if you are consistently too intense, then you'll never recover.
Yep. And volume can be combined with intensity, and it's just quantity of reps, of quantity of weight moved. And those two levers have to be, it's just individual in what your fitness capacity can handle.
Yeah. It's
So work with
a
your
very
coach.
generalized answer because it's going to be different for everyone. I like to call this cheetah mode. A cheetah has the greatest expression of what intensity looks like optically. They can run, 60, 70 miles an hour, but then they do that and they take down their prey.
And they have to sleep for like 3 days before they can eat it.
When a cheetah actually dies, it's because they take down their prey and they're too tired to defend themselves from like a bigger animal.
Yeah.
Like that is a true expression of all out intensity. It's not like a cheetah does that every day. No. Like they are too exhausted to do anything for the next 3-4 days. So knowing how the cheetah knows it can do that, it also knows it can't do that every day. So I would say knowing what your cheetah mode looks like is what I tell my classes. Unless you actually get to that point where you are in your hypothetically saying where you collapse and don't want to do anything for 3 days. Like if you've done a benchmark workout and it scares you to do that again, like Fran, for example, just because it's a popular one. I've only done Fran 3 times in like 12 years because I know how bad it sucks and I don't like to be in that place. Same thing with a 500-meter row. There's a reason why I've only done it really legitimately 2 times in the last 17 years of training because it's that painful.
No, and it's funny to bring up, but that 2 to 3 minute time domain, max effort is the one that smacks you the hardest. And a lot of times, especially when you combine compound lifts with it. But that is one of the most grossest places to live in a max effort.
And this can be said for absolute, and I know we all see it as coaches for max, 1 rep max lifting. Like a 1 rep max is the other side of this equation. Assuming that you have the mobility, you have the technique and stuff to lift safely. Like if you don't actually push yourself to figure out where that line is, that threshold of failure, like you're never really going to know what you're capable of. Your body will never adapt because you're never actually pushing it to what it.
That's why I did them lunges the other day, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
paid the price.
You didn't use sumo deadlift 500 pounds.
No, I did not 500. Regular deadlift, like 515 by sumo deadlift, 465.
That's badass. And that's an all-time PR, and you're 40 years old.
Yep.
So this is you're a great example of this is consistency through a long time. I think to add another layer to this, I think a lot of people think that a lot of their gains should be happening a lot quicker than is reasonable to ask. Like people get upset if they don't have a 6-pack over, a few month time frame. People get upset like if they're not hitting PRs over a certain time frame or this and that. Like people think that these things should happen quickly.
Yeah. I don't want to discourage people either, but from 2017 to today, I've gained 10 pounds of muscle total.
Yeah.
Over those years, I've had less training volume years. I've had more training volume years, but I've been an average of 3 to 4 days a week for that entire time.
Yeah.
And then I've gone down from like 18% body fat to now I'm around 13.
And this actually this subject kind of segues into a question I wrote down for us to go over.
Bring up one last thing on the intensity that I meant to say. Also, when it comes to intensity and volume, different muscle groups are going to respond differently. If I go out, or anybody really, and it's the small muscles, so you do max volume, max intensity push-ups, you're going to recover the next day. Basically, anybody just fine. That's a lot different if you do max squats, lunges. Like bigger muscle groups, max effort are going to be able to produce more power, but they're also going to take longer to recover. So when you're looking at workouts, that's an area too to keep in mind of where intensity can be pushed. So like burpees, for instance, if the workout is burpees, that's an intensity. You can push that intensity and still recover the next day. But if the workout has a bunch of barbell thrusters, pushing the intensity on that, it might take longer to recover. So workout dependent also depends on where, me personally, I'm going to gauge how intense I'm going to push based on how I want to train the rest of that week.
Yeah.
So that's my final note today on this topic.
Yeah. So you need to have both.
You need to have both.
You can't really have
sprinkle it in.
one without the other. If you're consistently have zero intensity, you're not going to really do anything. It's like if me and Derek just started going on 30-minute brisk walks for the rest of our life. Like, that's not going to work well for us because of the work we've put in. It might be a great starting place for someone who's, you know, excessively overweight. Like, that might be a great starting place until they transition to something else. But for us, if we go and just go walking every day for our exercise, we're going to lose everything that we've worked on. Like, so you have to consistently do things that challenge where you're at, so you have these physiological adaptations.
Yep. But nothing's more important than consistency.
So it kind of segues into a question I wrote down here. You know, I think if you could answer this question of like, why do you work out? Why do you train? Like, what is the main driving factor? Is it, you know, to look good? You trying to like score some more notches on the belt? Which, you know, I don't condone, me personally, but are you trying to just be strong? Are you trying to win some endurance event? Is it purely for longevity? I think if you can kind of categorize and prioritize what is important to you on this list of like why you train, then you'll have more internal motivation and inspiration for yourself to consistently train and have those intensities that actually make progress in your fitness
It gives
journey.
purpose.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if you watched it because, I mean, you're my brother, so we talk all the time, so you probably don't watch all my content. But I did a whole video on finding your anchor.
Okay.
And the anchor is this premise.
Yeah.
Finding your why, because I think it is the most important thing when it comes to finding consistency, because this stuff isn't easy.
No.
I think it surprises folks, but yeah, the gym owner who looks, I guess, like a workout guru, there's many days each week that I don't want to work out. But then you lock on to what you just brought up, your why, your purpose, like why.
And it's tough, and sometimes, and I think it's okay. Like the why changes, right? You go through different seasons of life, like becoming a dad or whatever, you know, whatever it is. Like things change, and I think that's okay. One thing that's always been consistent with me, and I think that you'll have the same notion, is that when I get to I'm a Christian, so when I get to the end of my life, I'm having my conversation with Jesus, with the good Lord, that I'll be able to ask, did I, you know, mentally and physically, did I push myself to the levels that you knew I was capable of doing, the reasons I was created for? So like, for me, an expression of that is I've kind of been coined as like the strong guy for a long time in the gym. Like there are things and numbers that I personally like to go after just to see how far I can physically push my body to do things. And sometimes that's a powerful why for me, to train when I don't want to train, to like my most recent, and when I say recent, the last probably like 3-4 years of making this goal, is my 1,800 pound challenge of being able to deadlift 600 pounds, back squat 500 pounds, clean 400 pounds, and snatch 300 pounds, be able to do all of those in a 1-year time frame.
Not in the same workout?
No, not in the same workout.
Pussy.
Maybe if I was on steroids. If I were so that is actually where that nervous system fatigue would come in.
Oh yeah.
If I were juicing, then those numbers would be like pushing 700 pounds on the deadlift, and then I could probably pull it off in a workout. But I'm not juicing. In fact, testosterone's down 100 points, but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
But like these are things for me specifically. Like I don't want to like get to a point 10 years from now and be like, I gave up because I was tired and kind of being a bitch on these things. Like I don't feel like these numbers are so out of my scope that I can't pull them off, but challenging enough that I really need to dial in. I need to be consistent. I need to focus. I need to clean up my eating. There's a lot of things that I need to do to be able to pull these things off. And these are just examples, but these are things that I find like my why when it comes into my physical training. There's a whole nother conversation about like the longevity side of like a big part of this is I want to be able to play with my daughter Zuzu for, as long as I can until she gets too cool for me, which I'm dreading.
But then you get grandkids that you want to play with.
Yeah, like the longevity side of this is enormous, but there's also a part of me that as she's growing up where she can look at her dad and be like, my dad's a badass. Yeah. That whatever boy she's going to date, go on her first date. I made a rule a long time ago is the only guy that can take her out on a date is they have to be able to power clean 315 pounds.
And no guy's going to take her out on a date. Basically looking out at the general society we got right now.
So, but me being able to set this example and be that person to look up to like is a huge motivator for me.
Yep. Now, when it comes to your anchor, you personally, like how are you using these motivators to grab onto it to gain back consistency? Because I've been riding your ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, consistency is the hardest thing for me lately. Like I was just saying, intensity is not the issue.
No, you still squat 465 pounds yesterday?
Yeah, 460. I intentionally only did 5 more pounds than Wayne.
Yeah, I know what happened on the leaderboard, but I'm just saying the fact that you could do that and you haven't even been training consistently.
So I haven't done a heavy squat. So last time, fun fact, about 4 months ago, I did a heavy front squat with no lifting shoes and no belt or anything because Wayne was giving me shit about not doing it completely raw.
No, we're raw.
Yeah, I know. Coming from somewhere, weightlifting shoes and belts for everything. Now he's all too cool for him.
Yeah, no, we're
Wayne,
raw
I'm talking shit about you, bud. So I did that. Fun fact, I don't think I told anyone this, but I did that for a front squat. I think a front squat like 360. And I blew out my ankle, and my ankle's been killing me for like the last 3 months. So that was my last heavy squat I did. I don't like going back to the consistency and intensity, also knowing where your, I would argue, flexibility is with certain things.
Current training limitations based on your consistency.
So I haven't been able to really squat in the last like 3 months heavy at all, hardly at all in the slightest, because my ankle's been hurting so bad. So like yesterday, the back squat. For me, heavy squatting until my ankle is like good to go. Like I'm wearing lifters. That range of motion and under that weight.
There's nothing wrong with wearing lifters.
No, I know. I just want to put the old man in his place. But I squatted yesterday. That was my first heavy squat in 3 months. Being able to pull, my goal was 405 for the day. 425 was the big win. But then I saw Wayne and I wanted to talk shit, so I pulled off 460.
So ego gets to you too.
Yeah, but it was a good 460 though.
I'm just saying.
It was just surprising.
That's what happened to me with the lunges.
Yeah. So, absolutely it gets to me. But after I did 425 relatively easy, so I knew I had it in me. But anyway, going back to your question.
Consistency. That's what I want for you.
Yeah. So what's the inspiration now to this is figuring out the consistency in the schedule in my own schedule and scatteredness of how I'm going to prioritize getting strong in my journey of losing weight right now. Like my body fat percentage is higher than I would like. I would like to drop about 15, 20 pounds fat, gain about 10-ish pounds of muscle would be great. So if I can do those things, so like I've cut out drinking, I've cut out caffeine, I've cut out sugar, not Qdoba yet, but I've cut out all these things. I need to hydrate more. Like I've been very active in working on these things, understanding that it's not going to happen immediately overnight. Like, us recording this podcast, like this is the only time of day that I can do a workout. So I'm going to, like I figured out my schedule with my wife and my daughter that Kelsey's going to pick up Zuzu. I'm going to jump into 4 o'clock. So like it's figuring out.
You've done 3:30 here.
Stuff. Kelsey brought that up, but then I didn't even think about it.
It's close
so.
to your house too. So yeah,
maybe next week.
This is what I want for you, bro. But also, I went through having. I didn't personally have the kids. My wife had the kids, but when minions come into your life, and it can derail momentum. I mean, sleep deprivation is a real thing, especially when it comes to finding intensity, because sleep is arguably the most important thing when it comes to recovery from training. So when you have new minions in your life and sleep is just whacked, it is hard to find consistency. And I can attest to that. I mean, I went through roller coasters with my training, my physique, if you will, my health during those sleepless deals of their early years. So that is a big deal there. Am I answering my why? Is that a question? My purpose? Yeah. Because
I mean, it was just my question to segue on the consistency. Like your consistency and intensity, a lot of it for especially veteran athletes can come from, like what you said, your anchor, your why. For me, I have like very specific goals, like the 600-pound deadlift, the 500-pound squat, 400-pound clean, 300-pound snatch. Like those are very specific and tangible for me to latch onto. And the byproduct of me consistently training for those things will be the drop in the body fat percentage. We'll be losing the visceral fat. Blood work will get better. I will be healthier overall. I'll be able to, not run out of breath going up and down the stairs playing Wazuzu. Like having a specific goal can help with an overarching goal.
Oh, yeah.
That you need to have both, in my opinion. Yeah. Just coming in and having just a general goal of like, oh, I want to lose weight. Like that's going to be, you're going to lose motivation, inspiration almost instantly. Like the first time that workout kicks you in the ass, like, damn, this shit ain't worth it.
When the rate of change is so slow, it's hard to be excited about it when you don't see things move. And this is what I talked about in that video is most people come into the gym, 90% of them, the number one driver of joining a gym is to lose weight. Mm-hmm. It is the number one. And when you realize that process is not immediate, it starts to become less of a driver, a motivator of, consistency. And for me personally, I mean, I'm just in a different chapter of life. You guys didn't know, you probably know this, but me and Jacob are 7 years apart. I had to, like, his goals are significantly different than mine. Like, mine aren't to hit massive weights. Mine are very, I guess, simplified in that department. I want to continue to maintain where I'm at strength-wise and improve upon only as long as my body feels good. So I'll still push, obviously, but I really try to keep that in its bucket when it comes to moving loads, because for me, when I'm pushing the bigger weights, I do set myself up, as I did last week, for an injury. So I am now at this chapter of my life, I am very, very cognizant of that. But, I mean, if it was a goal of mine, there are smarter ways to train for it. I won't argue that. But for me, it's my overall wellness.
I would say if I had to pick something that had some specificity behind it for you, though, would be when Claire had her operation and then the whole family cleaned up. Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole family, you guys eat perfect. Yeah. Like no one that I know eats as clean as you guys do. You prioritize consistency. Mm-hmm. You are educated enough within your own body to know when you're pushing too much or not enough. Like, you have your cheetah modes days and it's very apparent, on the leaderboard. But this specifics behind this has just been I won't even say general. Like the way you eat, the way you've been prioritizing just your own happiness, your engagement with class, like all of these things, the byproduct of you honing in on that thing, that longevity goal, has increased your numbers and your fitness and everything.
Everything. I'm fitter and stronger in everything but my back squat and my clean. And that's just because I'm very protective of my back. Yeah,
and I think that it's a good dichotomy between the two of us, because I feel like the specifics of our goals are very similar, coming from two opposite sides, but with the same goal. Yours is I won't even say general health and fitness, like yours, like, because not everyone is doing what you're doing as far, like no one's going home and just eating a pound of ground beef, like for a meal, right? But the 3 turkey meatballs or whatever the hell you posted the other day with a thing of broccoli.
I should comment on that. I don't eat broccoli. It's disgusting.
Whatever, but like is not sexy with what you're eating, but it's working and it's causing everything else to go up. Like your endurance is getting better, your strength is getting better. My focus on like those things specifically is going to, like, those things can't get better unless I do these things better.
Yep.
So it's like the same things.
Internal motivators drive us all differently, but the outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. The working outcome is
and the
very
inputs
similar.
need to be similar too. So what drives us to our goal, but the reality is for Jacob to hit his goal, his inputs need to be similar to mine as far as, outside the gym stuff. And that goes for everybody. Like, you're not going to be able to train well without eating well, without doing the outside stuff. The biggest thing that sold me on long-term and allowed me and gave me permission to train like an athlete again, if you will, even though that's nothing even remotely that I want to do anymore, is compete as an athlete, is the data out there is very, very clear. The fitter and stronger you are at 40, the fitter and stronger you're going to be at 80. And all-cause mortality goes down like thousands of %. Like, it's massive. It's not even funny how better your all-cause mortality and how much longer, happier, and your health span can be when you are at the top 1% of fitness at 30, 40, 50. And the data is just so massively clear on it. It's like, okay, I want to be that person when I hit each decade. Like, I love the fact that at 40 years old, I can keep up with younger people in the gym. I love the fact that when I turn 50, I'm still going to be that person.
Argue not even keep up. I mean, you beat everyone's ass.
Faye walks laps around me. Like,
okay, that might be a stretch. I mean, she's a monster.
Well, there's some workouts I can keep up with her in. Yeah. But today it was laughable because we did it together, today's workout. Whenever you're listening to this, today's workout is the one that you needed to take your Adderall before doing. Is rope climbs, handstand push-ups, single arm dumbbell bench, and skiing. And me, if you guys haven't met Faye, she's awesome. But she's really fit. And we did it together. And so it's not too often you just kind of get cheered on during the middle of a workout when you're trying your best. But no, I love that I can still play the game. But that is not my number one driver. I could give 2 shits about where my score is for the day and this and that. I care that I'm giving my best effort to move my needle and my health span forward. But if I can't recover from that workout, and if I don't feel good anymore when I get home to my family, if I don't feel good anymore on the weekends, this is all pointless for me. So I very much play the game way more intelligently than I did in the past. And I will say the way we eat now has been the most transformative thing in my ability to recover and feel good the way I train than anything I've ever done in my life. And doing that for a year has been one of the most eye-opening experiences of my life, because over the years, we've done 75 hard challenges. We've done, clean eating for blocks of time. I have never, ever in my life eaten as perfect as we've eaten for over a year. And that duration and the effects it's had on my body from a training standpoint, the effects it's had on my body from a physique standpoint, has been one of the most eye-opening experiences of my life. And
this is a good question, by the way, about the consistency and intensity, because it's bred a lot of other topics. I would not argue is not the right word, but I would say you need to get to a point of I would say our fitness there's an experimentation that happens, right? It's taking a lot of trial and error, doing some dumb shit. Oh, yeah. And all of that you guys learn through our stupid mistakes, as like the leaders of the gym. We've done some dumb shit. We've partaken in some dumb shit, some not dumb shit, and kind of figure out what works. And that's why you guys but hopefully look
The hot tub I own was result of some dumb shit.
look towards us like for guidance. But I would say that some people use kind of like what you're saying of you're not like that guy anymore that will use some of these things as maybe an excuse to not push very hard or to not give themselves, I would say, aggressive goals. Something that going back to kind of some specifics, like my 1,800 pound challenge, what I tell people in the gym, like when it comes to maxes, for people that I can tell that are truly like passionate about like training, like they really like get a joy from working hard. What I see, and I see this more often than not, and you can let me know if it's something similar here, is that people don't give themselves, in my opinion, aggressive enough goals. This was going to be another topic I brought up to help really facilitate those changes. Like some people, let's say, looking at someone as a coach, like I know eventually, like this person's probably capable of, I don't know, let's just say, for example, squatting 300 pounds, like whatever, person A. I know that this person's capable of it. Let's say right now they're only squatting like 185, but I know eventually with a few years of consistency and intensity, like they'll get to that. Just like the very first time I maxed my back squat was 135 pounds. My first 1 rep max back squat, and now it's 500. And then this has been, a 13-year journey to get to that point. But that person who squats 185 would be like, oh, I asked him like, what's like your long-term goal to get, like, what number you want to get to? And they're like, I would love to get to like 195. And I'm like, we got to bump that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to bump that. We're going to go 240 by 7 months from now.
I also, like, you're right. I do agree with that. I also think we live in a society that's void of any sort of physical, what do you want to say, aptitude. So, like, you're not surrounded by people that push these that do these things in general. Like, you're just not in society. I mean, you go walk around society, it is a very deconditioned society and unhealthy. So, I don't think a lot of folks understand what the normal average human body is capable of. Like, sure, you got a perception. If you watch some Olympics or you watch some pro sports, you're like, you get that, but that's so unreachable, you don't even try to relate to it. Mm-hmm. But in normal everyday life, like, chances are the person you sit next to at work might not have worked out in the last 25 years. Yeah. So once you get into an environment where you're surrounded by just regular humans doing really cool stuff, I think it can help reshape somebody's intuition of what they're capable of. And I mean, a lot of that, what you said there, how were you raised? Like, where did your parents push you and, various things? What sports did you do? Yeah. Some folks, I mean, we've had them come into the gym who have never worked out or not done a sport. I mean, not even growing up, like just never did anything. And they're oblivious to what the human body is capable of as far as an everyday human. And what I think's cool, like about your goal, and like me and the members at the gym, is we get to witness what just the regular, consistent person is capable of doing. Like, a lot of these members do phenomenal stuff. Like, phenomenal. And they work out an hour a day, 3 to 5 days a week. And they're literally in the top 1% of society when it comes to fitness capacity. That's freaking awesome. Yeah. And what you bring up is what the saying is, like, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So out in society, if you're not around, folks that do this stuff regularly, like our community does, you're not going to know. And that is our job as a coach and a community, to help kind of facilitate and give you those goals, that those carrots out there that you can chase, but keep them realistic, but also get you uncomfortable. And then frame what that work's going to look like. Because when talking strength training and hitting strength goals and, gym performance goals is a different conversation than physique, body fat goal and what that's going to look like, and time frames, perspectives. I can't remember who said it, but it's like your job as a coach is to make sure that people understand what don't set a limitation on their goal. Our job is to make sure they understand what it's going to take to get that goal. You know, if some dude randomly walks in here and is like, I want to make it to the CrossFit Games. All right.
Yeah, this is what it's going to look like.
I mean, we've had people do that.
Uh-huh.
None of them have stuck around.
No, I've given the framework of what it looks like, and then all of a sudden it's not that cool.
Well, and then they start training and realize, just trying to get through a workout's hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'll never tell somebody their goal is too far. I'll just explain to them what it's going to take to get there.
I've only had to do that a couple times.
There are people setting realistic expectations, and I think once you get to know somebody, that's your responsibility as a coach, because you're setting that person up for potential failure. But the human body, the human being, can accomplish amazing things. And, most of us aren't even remotely close to tapping our genetic potential in anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And to put that limitation on somebody, if a 55-year-old walks in here and tells me they want to play in the NFL in 5 years, your genetic potential is gone. Like, it's a thing of the past. But that's a different story depending on where you're at in life. And I personally love having those goal-setting kind of mindset deals with members. So
yeah, it's more often than not I have to tell people, like, you got more in you.
Yeah.
I could probably
pull PRs out of people a lot. Like you do. Pretty cool
gift.
And I'm over here like I'll push people, but I don't know. You definitely are good at seeing people move, how they're moving, and then, okay, you got another 10 pounds and you got another 15, and you've done it to me. So
yeah, something I understand and enjoy. I think it's probably why my specific goals are attached to those. But yeah, I would say, whatever your goals are, I would look at them and see, like, challenge yourself and ask yourself of more. I think there's the delusional side of things, which I've had some people will say, like, I think I can gain 40 pounds of muscle by next week.
Well, well, next week's tough, but if you say 40 pounds of muscle in a year, I'll give you the framework.
Yeah.
And your body is going to be wrecked.
Yeah.
Long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where you'll get the stuff to do it, but it's going to require a significant amount of exogenous supplemental support, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, it's funny. I've had those conversations with people when it comes to building muscle and time frames and this and that. And yep.
Yeah.
I'm probably the only guy in the gym on exogenous testosterone that's gained 1 pound of muscle in a year.
Yeah, it could be a whole nother topic, but the reason you're on it was purely because your T levels were, as high as a girl.
It was a health decision.
Yeah.
And my wife and I got into this in our last little podcast on blood work. And she was there with me through it all and helped guide it all. And it was a health decision and a chapter of my life going on 40 years old. Not saying that's like the benchmark to get on T, but all my blood work for years, did everything really well health-wise. And it became a wellness health span decision to feel good for the work that I'm putting in. And that was the driver. And when I made that decision, it was also a decision that I'm not going to try to compete at anything anymore from an athletic standpoint, because obviously I'm on exogenous testosterone. I'm not going to be that guy. So my whole driving and purpose in the fitness and gym space is to help people live the healthiest health span for as long as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And all those other variables do play into that.
For a male, it's been so, that's what I'm looking for, vilified. Like, testosterone is like just in a sense of that people use it out of just pure steroid abuse for performance, that when you take someone whose testosterone is in the hundreds nanodeciliter, whatever the measurement is, versus like a healthy someone who's like between 600 to 800, that is a very different man, like mentally, physically, emotionally, someone that's down there as opposed to someone who's 600 to 800.
Like your body's, there's long-term negative health impacts from testosterone being too low.
Yeah.
And also too high. So being at a therapeutic dose for your age and where you're at plays a massive influence. And honestly, circling back to the consistency thing, it has helped me feel good about being being more consistent in a healthier way. And I do feel better. Like my mental health is better. I sleep better. Sex drive's better. Like it's helped me in like a health way that my health span is dramatically improved at my age now, where it wasn't at age 35, 36. Like, and I still had some competitive aspirations when I became a master's athlete at age 35. I thought maybe this is my time to like maybe try to make it to the games.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started increasing training volume back then, I would fall apart physically and emotionally. Like my mental health would go through the dumpster because the train at that level with where my body internally was at wasn't capable of it. So that's when, the blood work, the trial and error to get up things fixed naturally. And it just became a long-term health decision to go the route of TRT. And I think what I was going to get at real quick, and we don't need to beat this topic down the road right now, but I think the reason it's vilified is it is abused. And I also think one of my biggest reasons for being transparent about it, one, my job, and I'm a gym owner, but I think there's way too many charlatans out there that, I do all this straight up natty and it's not.
Yeah. You mean the entire social media fitness space?
Yeah. And I think it sells a false dream. And I will sit here on my high horse, if you will, and I am at a therapeutic dose for my age. I'm not at a big, massive anaerobic level. And there's still a lot of people that I know, even personally. My goal is to be at the minimum effective dose to feel good, like a healthy 40-year-old should feel.
Yeah.
And I do believe I'm there. Took 16 months now. I don't know even the exact time frame. But, when you have people in the health and fitness space, you have people, showing off their this, their that, their body, their numbers, their lifts, their training, everything. And under the premise that this is all natural, I'm calling bullshit on a healthy chunk of it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend just like there are guys out there with high testosterone. Their ball sack, if you will, works really, really well. And they are able to do awesome things.
Yeah.
Natural.
And we're talking very genetically gifted.
Yeah.
Honestly, a
genetics
majority of
massive
professional athletes, they're very genetically gifted
100%.
people.
100%. And I will not come out on the assumption that everybody who's doing awesome things is, either just on test alone or a bunch of other steroid type stuff. But I will say a massive chunk of the social media fitness influencer, I do believe they're full of shit.
Yeah. If they have a course to sell or a program to sell you and they look like they're probably not natural, chances are they aren't. Yeah.
And I know a few of them, I'm not going to say names, but they try to post their blood work. They try to,
some tea.
they try to pretend like they're all natty. And I know what the human body scientifically, when it comes, and it's a lot of people, in my opinion, in the hybrid space, the quote unquote failed CrossFitter space is what I call it. That's a hot take. It's people that like to lift weights and run, but don't have the skill and coordination to do anything else.
Yeah.
But that was mean. It sounded like
it's true.
Yeah. But this hybrid space, to pretend that you're running 10 miles a day, killing heavy workouts, sleeping 5 hours a night, and your testosterone is still naturally over 1,000, and you take no rest days. Like there's people out there that literally I don't take rest days. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. I don't care how genetically gifted you are. You can't train that volume, that weight, that consistency, no rest days, and it being 100%. I mean, I still take full rest days. Like your body needs it. Yeah. Now I know it seems like maybe I don't, but I definitely do.
Oh yeah. My rest days are forced because of my lack of consistency.
Yeah.
I want to train, but I physically can't.
I mean, what is it, like last week and the week before, I took like 2 rest days. And I mean, Jess even came in. She's like, I'm so proud of you taking rest days. I was like, yeah, beat the hell down. So when it comes to, I guess we can, I don't know if you got more things, but I guess we can.
I have one more question on our list.
All right.
It could be a deeper question, though, so we could try and get through it quick, but it could be an entire podcast, which it actually has been an entire podcast. I believe it was our very first podcast. But anyway,
All right.
what were you about to say?
Well, I was just going to wrap this up. I can wrap up this part, but a big part that people get discouraged with when it comes to, finding your hook or your why or your anchor is the comparison game. Like you look at what these people are quote unquote doing on social media, these transformations that happen, these Ozempic transformations that happen, and they try to pretend like it didn't in, 45 days, 90 days. This is unrealistic. And if people are saying they're doing it naturally, I'm calling
this
bullshit.
goes for women too.
Oh, big time. Big time.
Big time.
Especially in the fitness influencer space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's a wage discrepancy now that I'm a content creator and women versus men.
Yeah.
I don't get nearly the engagement. I'm trying to post a butt picture. I'm trying to do some stuff and, it just doesn't get the creds. But being careful in the comparison thing, looking at these platforms and what people are sharing on them, look at it with a grain of salt. I've been personally coaching fitness now for 20 years. Coming on 20 years.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. I've seen what it takes to get to where you need, to get pretty aggressive goals, the amount of time it takes, the amount of consistency, both diet, sleep, nutrition. Like I said, I've been at this a long time, and my biggest transformation has been in the last year. And 2 things. I optimized my hormones and I eat perfect for well over a year now. And I'm just now, and that's with a base of fitness that was already pretty damn good. Like I might have been a little chubbier, but I was still pretty fit before all this stuff. So it's like I had a massive base of fitness, and then I optimized my blood work to a healthy therapeutic level. And then literally the diet, I will say, hands down, had one of the biggest transformations for me in my training, but also, at this point, my physique. Has changed significantly. So,
oh yeah, you're all shredded up, bud. My physique's changed too, just the other direction.
So, what's the next question? Because I got to go get Claire in a little bit.
Last one, and we'll do a quick summary on it. We'll keep it short because we've done a big podcast, and we can do another podcast on it. But anyway, how Double Edge came to be to what it is today.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate in our support over the years and what helped get this started. No question. But blood, sweat, and tears.
Quite literally blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
A lot of those 3.
I think that resonates with any person that's ever started their own business or done their own business. It's not easy.
Yeah. And it's been the constant tilling of, figuring out what works, what doesn't, the people we want here, the people that naturally come to the doors. Our community is, I would say, pretty rock solid.
Oh yeah.
It's been a 10, 12 year, however long we've been doing this now.
This is year 11 on March
Year 11. Year 11.
Well, year 11 of Double Edge. We were both coaching. You're like 5 years before that. And I was about 9 years before that.
So it's been constant growth since day one, and will continue to be growth, as you can physically see through our podcast setup. Like Derek said, the evolution from this first episode to our cinematic room. We're going to have the cameras. We're going to have the lights. So it's just, we're in a constant state of trying to be better. And
I think that's
consistent.
And if you had to wrap up what took Double Edge from, a concept to today, is our willingness to adapt, our willingness to try new things, our commitment to being consistent in what we do and believe in as a health and fitness model, if you will. Our core values: persevere, have integrity even when it costs us. We have faith. So, and I truly believe, and I've told this to many members, God wants me here. because there's been so many opportunities for it to be ripped out of my hands. There have been times that it probably should have been shut down, like bankrupt. I mean, COVID, obviously. I hate beating that dead horse because it's in the past, but I mean, these are very trying times for us. And I've wanted to quit. I've wanted to pull into the parking lot and see these places. Like I was hoping to pull up that it was like a bucket of ashes and I could just move on to something else. The stress that has come with it over the years. And every single time God reaches down and like puts a hand on me and this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I think the biggest eye-opening event in my life for what this is, our future here and the driver behind it, is my conviction in God having me here to help people live a healthy and fit life. Because, I mean, even through Claire's ordeal, but just the turmoil of this, it is what, I mean, me personally, it makes me happy. And not going to say it's always been happy, but I love helping people achieve their, what do you want to say, best genetic potential when it comes to their health, longevity, and wellness.
And we never quit.
I've worn this bracelet every day since high school.
Yeah.
It's actually my third one because they break sometimes.
Yeah, I believe that we're called to be, good stewards. Servants help others. And I think everyone has a different calling. It's not like everyone needs to do the same thing. If we all did the same thing, then that really wouldn't be worth any kind of calling. Everyone has their path, and this was our path that we chose. And I do believe, like what Derek said, that we're here for a reason, and that if we don't push ourselves to be the best versions of ourselves day in and day out, then we're not being the men that God designed us to be. And I truly believe that we're here to help others. I think that's why this stubbornness has been instilled in us. I think there are many opportunity for that people would have agreed if we would have walked away and just hung it all up. But that's not who we are, and that's not who God designed us to be. And we're going to keep on this path to the grave to be the best versions of ourselves, the best brothers we can be, the best business owners, best husbands to our wives, best fathers, and all that we do. And we want to continue to have an impact in our local community and just anyone who comes to our doors or anyone that we can have an impact on outside these doors.
I mean, there's a lot of like parents, for instance, out there that'll say like they'll jump in front of a moving car for their kid, but they won't live a healthy life for their kid.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I want to help, like truly as a hook or anchor, help people overcome and live that healthy life for their family, because there's nothing more important than your health. And I don't think you realize that until your health is taken away. And I'm fortunate enough to be sitting here, healthy, but seeing my daughter at 9 years old have a major health crisis, and how delicate and how precious your wellness is. And when something comes and, hits you like that, to not take it for granted and put in, treat your body with respect. Do the things that you need to do for your health, because when it gets taken away from you, lots of times it's unfortunately too late for you to change course. And if I can get you guys to truly believe that the work you're doing in the gym, the work you're doing with nutrition, it may not feel like it's the benefit that day, but the 50, 60, 70-year-old version of yourself will look back and be like, oh, I'm so grateful that I did the work then. And if I can help inspire that and guide that I do believe is my calling going forward in this profession. And obviously my daughter's a big driver of that, and seeing how delicate and how you shouldn't take your health for granted when you have it, because it's you don't know when a genetic thing come and take it away. You don't know when, whatever, cancer, heart disease, these things sneak up. So for most people in society, they sneak up so slow and so undetected. And this is one of the big reasons why I'm so advocating people getting blood work, because it's the only way to shed some light into a disease that could be manifesting 10 years down the road that you can reverse course now. And the literature out there is 100% emphatic that fitness is the number one thing that you can do for your long-term health. And then eating well on top of that, but just because it makes your fitness better. Like, people that eat kind of like shit and still work out have better health spans than people who just eat really healthy and never work out. You could eat perfect and never train, and the trained person's probably going to have a better health span than you. Like, there's some studies out there that show that folks who work out and smoke cigarettes have better health spans and lifespans than people who don't work out and don't smoke. Like, exercise has an effect on our body and our long-term health using our body. And because we live in a society that is very inactive by nature because our jobs, I mean, kids in the kindergarten start sitting in desks 6-7 hours a day. We have to be proactive in our physical activity because the human body requires it to be healthy. And in our society, the way we do that, the most efficient and best way to do that is arguably in the gym. So, and we must lift weights. We must work our heart and lungs. And like Jacob said, there's a long podcast on the how Double Edge was born, all the business, this and that, and our kind of history of getting the business of this started. But when it comes to my personal driver going forward, it's to help you overcome whatever obstacles you have in front of you to live the fittest, healthiest life possible, to be the best person for you and your family as possible.
Yeah. How long can you live your life, and how badass can it be on the way out?
100%. 100%. Like, I laugh about it, but I do tell people, I was like, I do all this stuff and watch, I'm going to slip in the bathtub. It's funny, but you genuinely don't know when your ticket's going to be pulled. Like, you don't. Tragically, you know, some folks, and it hurts my heart, but some people have lost family members, and completely unexpected. And, you know, life is just so precious, and we don't know when it is. And I think it is irresponsible for us not to put in the work to live the best life that we've been blessed with, this human body, and we've been blessed with this opportunity. And to just take wellness for granted is selfishly irresponsible.
I agree.
So, yeah, we could redo that podcast that we did on the opening of the gym. I don't know if I really want to revisit that horse right now, because that damn, that's a long podcast. If we really get into details on that.
Yeah, I think it's episode 1, by the way. It's one of the first ones.
Yeah, it's out there. We could put a link in the show notes.
But that was our first podcast back.
Yep.
To some consistency here.
Yeah, first long form by ourselves. And should we get this? We want to play the outro music on this banger box? You guys ready for this? Ready? Here we go. All right, bro. Feel that?
Yep.
This is like your playlist, Jim.
Yeah.
Yep. Here we go. All right, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in.
It's been great to be on the show today. And we'll catch you guys out in the gym.
Can't wait to do it again.
All right. And then a little bit of applause at the end.
Yeah, turn the
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we got visual here.
Yep, there we go. All right. For real, guys. Love you. And if you guys got questions in the future, things you want us to cover, health, fitness related, and we're happy to do that. And we'll try to make it funny along the way.
Peace.
Oh, yeah. Peace.